with the thought that something wants to be born there, that Rachel and I and others are working toward. And when she told me about what happened here with you all, she said, I hope that you come, Barbara, because it would be wonderful if people were inspired by the same thing that's inspiring us, that we'll be seated at Sunrise Ranch. And of course, I have loved Boulder for a long while. I've almost lived here at least 3 times. So I've been very near here to be here at much more time at Sunrise Ranch. So I'd like to take a moment to tell you what's inspiring us. And it comes from my understanding of evolution. And Rachel was talking about evolution includes all. Actually, evolution selects for all that works. It's extremely selective, if you really want to know it. There are at least 2.5 billion species extinct before we got here. There were 5 mass extinctions before we got here. What's different right now is we're in the midst of the 6th mass extinction, and the new thing is we know we have something to do with it. That is the biggest wake-up call that this planet has ever had, because none of the other species knew what they were doing or how they were being selected for. But it seems that evolution is selecting for higher consciousness, greater freedom of action to do well or badly, and greater synergistic order to connect that which is loving and creative. This is a 13.7 billion year trend. And how does nature do it? At times of dysfunctionality in the existing system, innovations crop up everywhere. And there is a tendency in evolution, as those innovations emerge and the dysfunctionality increases toward chaos, it's at the exact time in evolution when the innovations connect toward convergence. And the way nature has taken these jumps to form the greater whole systems is by connecting that which is emergent, creative, and loving in a synergistic way, so they create a new whole system. Because when you think of it, our bodies are 52 trillion cells, they say. I mean, I don't know who counted them, but 52 trillion cells per person, with countless microorganisms, organized as you. I mean, the awesome reality there. Not only that, is that inside each of us is an impulse to be creative toward more love, more consciousness, more creative. Is that right? That impulse has now arisen in countless millions of people, partially because of the crisis. Partially because no existing leader of any existing function, whether it be corporate or university or churches, religions, can have a deep enough sense of what's emergent. But everywhere things are emerging, but not at the leadership of existing structures. So it's pretty obvious that we have to create new structures that allow that which is already emergent to connect and do what nature's been doing for billions of years. And this is the only way to deal with environmental crisis in the long run. It's not just to stop growing and sustain life, it's to create connectivity for more consciousness, more freedom, more order, and eventually, if we actually connect high-tech genius with love. We are Homo universalis. I believe a new species is being born, actually. And it's everywhere. And so what Rachel and I have joined together on is a planetary mission whose basic purpose is to bring us forward alive. The planetary mission, I got this thought when I was watching during NASA, when it was the Apollo the space program, and they had at Thomas Paine's office this huge per chart, every technological achievement in the world with one picture. The picture was, bring him back alive. To bring the astronaut back alive, because if they made a mistake, If all those people didn't do exactly what they knew was best, if somebody was just bored or cheated or whatever, he'd die. So it was very symbolic. And Tom Paine told me that after Apollo, after this mission was over, NASA lost its mission. It didn't have the reason to keep going, and competition with the Russians and just getting ahead was not it. So when I went in there, I thought, we need another picture there. Bring us forward alive. And I began to think of all that's already emergent in health, education, economics, science and technology, all these strands. If you think we have one picture, bring us forward alive, a planetary mission for all of us, and we could be coordinating enough to see the relevance of everybody's initiative as a unique self-symphony going to a planetary awakening. And it has occurred to Rachel, myself, and a few others, why don't we do that? Why don't we create a new context? We've got the content of what's emerging. We do not yet have the context. And the context is not a current political campaign, certainly not in the United States. There's no way that this could go into the political arena right now. And I ran for vice president in 1984 to bring forward the idea of an office for the future, to map, track, and connect what's working. So let's do that. Yeah, and let's create a planetary mission, bring us forward alive, and begin the invitation to actually trace, if you could think of a vast program review chart, like they say in the Air Force, huge amount of initiatives, timelines, when people are doing things. We just have to have a place for people to identify that, and we should pick a few dates, because it's important to have a date, like we're picking a date that Richard Branson is doing a space flight in the spring of 2018, bringing a very famous pop star down from space, and we've been invited to help orchestrate the mission by the sort of saying it's a mission to awaken planetary love in time, with people telling their missions. We have a chance to have a multimedia event on a very, very large public scale, as well as to create an office for the future that could actually map, track, and connect what's working. And there are already many small offices forming. The United Nations has invited us to make a proposal. So we are going to Sunrise Ranch, or I'm there with the invitation of Rachel and David and others, to see if there could be created a hub that could connect this idea with people all over the world, and certainly with people in this area, to see if we could become an invitation to connect, to co-create, with a certain few target dates to show up collectively of the enormity of what's already emerging and how good it already is. Tell the new story. The new story is us. Who's the news? We are. It's really sounds silly, but the news is what's new, folks. The news is not just what's breaking down, is it? Okay, so Rachel said, well, why don't you just say a few words and see if anybody's interested? So I've said a few words. I'd like to know, is anybody interested? So the fact is, Rachel, you come on up here next to me, dear. And I would like to hear what you feel about this, and what kind of ideas you would have creatively, particularly that could be focalized at Sunrise Ranch, with a media hub, with the ability to connect, with a lot of resources that could be dedicated to it. Let's hear what's in the room.